not just
survive. So wake up, my friend.
Wake up, my friend.
Wake up, my friend. Wake up, my friend. It's time to thrive. You can do it.
Wake up, my friend. Wake up, my friend. Wake up, my friend. It's time to thrive.
Good evening, everybody, and I'm just excited to that you have joined us on today. I'm excited to be here, and I'm all about information. The Bible says, "Know the truth, and the truth will set you free." And so I'm a person that not perfect, but I try to get truth out because I want people to be free. And so on this evening, we're going to discuss some truth that I think is pertinent to our well-being in this pandemic season. And I'm delighted to have with me Dr. Calvin Williams. Of course, he is a surgeon, he is a man of God, and the best thing, he is a man of God that's in Greater St. Stephen, a member of our ministry, and he is such a blessing. He's also our director of the health ministry. And so we appreciate all the work that you do. Dr. Williams, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And of course, he is also the man that I give God glory for, that discovered the cancer in my husband's body. And through God's healing and his wisdom, my husband has been cancer-free for over 10 years or more. So I give God praise for you, man of God. That will always be in my book of memories and my book of gratitude. So my first question is, what is a virus, Dr. Williams? You know, it's short because we're not medical.
Sure.
But what is a virus, and where did and how did COVID become a virus? That's the first part. And how did it get its name? So it's a threefold question. Sure. What is a virus?
Well, first, viruses are living organisms. You know, when we say germs are actually like either viruses or bacteria, but they are living organisms that we just can't see with our plain eyes. Microscopes to see them, you know, and that's how you know the devil is always hiding. So he hides it because you can't see it, but we know it's there. Yes. But it's a living organism that multiplies inside of a host. And we also know that viruses are actually by themselves individually weak organisms, but they have to multiply to create the effect and to be strong. So they get a hold to the host, and they need your cells to get the food from the cells and with all the mechanisms your cell uses.
Well, don't go into that part because I'm gonna get to that part, how they work. But I wanted to know what a virus is. And so you're saying a living organism, isn't that something? And you said we can't see them. And that's, like you said, so much like the enemy.
Yes.
So much, you can't see his hand, but you see his work a lot of time. Okay, so the second part of that question is, well, you kind of say where they came from, or you know, how do they become viruses? Is that a sensible question?
Yeah, I guess, well, living organisms they already exist on the earth. You know, it's just a matter of them having they find an opportunity to rise up and show themselves. You know, we remember that we thought that this corona, first of all, it got its name because it looks like a crown. Corona means crown. And so when you look at it under the microscope, it actually looks like a crown. So that's how it got its name. And there's a lot of different forms of it. We've seen it in the past, different infections we've seen in the past, SARS and all those we've heard of, but they are all types of coronas. But anyway, they thought to originate in that wet market, originally in bats, of course. They just reside in bats before, but now They made their way into the human. They think from that wet market in
Sure. And we've heard that, and that's some good information you gave us, because you say they reside in bats, and of course it was transferred, like you said, with moisture in people's hands, and I guess touching and whatever. But so powerful. It looks like a crown. So now we know where it gets its name. This is interesting to me because I had heard this, and you just mentioned that there are many coronas. Did you say that?
Yes,
Different type.
many types. Remember, some years ago, SARS was a big kind of thing going around the world before Ebola even, and SARS is a type of corona actually.
Yes.
It's a type of corona.
A type of corona, and so this is making me want to ask. This is so interesting. So corona means the way it looks. It has a crown on top. When you say there are different types of coronas, you mean there are different types of viruses or living organisms that look like that corona? They have a crown? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they all have that similar crown look. So just
Yes.
like you have children, they look alike, but they're different.
Ah, good.
Just like Ebola, we know that Ebola, they're totally different organisms, just like, but they're viruses. But they're totally different in how they act, just
How
like
they act.
we have white people, we have black people, but they're all people.
That's right.
So they're totally different. And they act
That's good.
They act
Which brings me to my next question. That is so good because, the understanding of it. And I know the news coverage, but I wanted to talk to you, man of God. But first of all, because you're in the medical field, you're close to us. And secondly, because of the anointing on your life, the insight that God will give to you. And so I'm going to ask Dr. Jory, I'm going to call her today, to take notes because I'm trying to write and this is too good and I don't want to miss anything. So I'm going to ask the questions and ask Dr. Jory to take some of these answers. But the second question, so you answered the third question, how he got his name. Third part of that first question. My second question is, why is it so much more devastating than in Ebola? Is it because it's a different strain, and what does strain mean? So well, why is it so devastating?
Well, strain is like, it's just a different form. I guess the easiest way or the most layman way to put it, Black people are different from white people, are different from Hispanic people and Chinese people. And they all have their cultures and different ways they behave. Why Black people act a certain way, why white people act a certain way.
Sure.
A lot of it's based on where they come from, they originated from their culture and so forth. We don't have answers to why things do act the way they act.
What they do.
Identify what people act a certain way. That's why a lot of, stereotypes come from.
Sure.
But the strain is they're different strain within a particular organism, like influenza. We know there are a lot of different types of influenza virus. That's why we can't totally eradicate the flu. We can get the most common vaccines for the most common ones, but we can't get them all because there's too many different forms of them. But they have different strains of the flu. They have different strains of corona. They have different strains of Ebola. So they all, and like in our families, we have all brothers and sisters from the same parents, but they're different. But they're in the same, they're just different strains.
That's so, that's so good. But look, I'm on the slow bus when it comes to medical. So those explanations, it makes it so easy to understand because I had some strains in my family. Come on. And we used to say, why is Stephanie, my baby sister, that girl is so hard-headed. So I get what you're saying. And that is so plain for us to understand because we hear these words and we throw them out. But, in all thy getting, the Bible say, get understanding. And, and wisdom is the principal thing, but in all you're getting, get an understanding. Okay, so my next question, Dr. Williams, is we've heard that it affects Black and brown people more, or in a more traumatic way. The question is why, and what exactly does it attack in these Black and brown people that makes it so much devastating?
Yeah, that's
So,
a good question. Good question.
Okay.
Well, first to note that it doesn't particularly attack us because we're Black or brown or any particular color. It only attacks, remember I said organisms look for opportunity. We just happen to be an opportunity for them because they need to have a weaker immune system. So they attack people with weaker immune systems, like people with the heart disease and diabetes and all that. Weaker immune system goes along with that. So a virus say, okay, let's go get them because we know we can multiply there. We don't have that immune system attacking us. They don't have a good army in their body. So think of it more like that.
That's
so
awesome.
It could be, if that was the white people that had that situation, then they'll be attacking them. So the viruses don't care what color you are. They care about where they can multiply the most. And so that's why they get the Black and brown people, and we're on the front line and we're in position for them. And so that's the reason why we're affected the most.
Wow, good answer. Good Lord, that's so good. And so I'm hearing God as you talk. One, when you said we can't get them all, viruses, we try to go after what we can, and there are many, because I understood one time they said they had some in the vault. Some viruses in a vault. And I'm like, Lord have mercy. I said, it's so scary. But this is what I heard, two things that God was saying. One, God gives all of us different abilities and desires. Like you told me one time your story about wanting to be a doctor. I never wanted to be a doctor, too scary. But you said you walked into, and I have a good memory. You said you walked into a room where examining room, operation. Somebody was having a surgery, and you said it was like heaven started singing, angels, hallelujah. You said it was so exciting for you, and I said, wow. And so what I'm getting from what you're saying, because God taught me this, everything we need is in the earth realm. But He said, just like I love communications and media and all that kind of stuff, and my heart goes that way. God said, I allow these things to be hidden for people like Dr. William, people who are doctors and all, that titillates you. And y'all go after to find the cures. And that's why we keep living. And that's why we keep evolving and being fulfilled, because all of these things, like, it's not 1, 2, 3, zap. We got all the Bible, we got all the cures, we got all. And so that's what doctors are called to do. And to me, the creativity of God, even though it may look like a negative, the positive is people like you guys or scientists or what have you, they go and they keep pushing because they know that there is an answer. So that's such a blessing. The second thing, Black or brown people. So good that the way you clarified that, because so many people carry low self-esteem, and we're talking about Black Lives Matter and all of the disparities and what have you. And sometimes it makes you think you are bad just because you're Black or brown. But what I always say, and they taught us this kind of in the hood, you don't, if they say you scary, you don't become scary because they call you that. If they say you're weak, they taught us to build up in those areas and, the bullies and what have you.
Right.
If it attacks the organs because they're weak,
right,
you don't make your organs weak for the enemy to win. You don't do the things. Now, of course, people, and I don't want to, this could be a deeper conversation. I don't want to get into the disparities because they say because we don't have the right foods, we don't have the money to buy to go to Whole Food. Right. And we eat what we can, pork chops, whatever is cheap. Right. And I know back in the day that was true, and sometimes it is true in this case, but we're going to discuss it a little later. about what we can do, Dr. Williams, because I know you're big on health, but that's an argument that could go two ways. I eat it because that's all I have to eat, and it destroys my organs or weakens my immune system. Or I eat it because it's a habit, because I'm Black and brown and I like it.
Right.
Right? You
Yeah.
see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's so good that you say it didn't attack me because I'm Black or brown.
Right.
It attacked me because it saw a place that it could go and it can multiply easier. Now, my final spin on that, and I want you to respond to it, is, which was so good, you said because they can multiply more rapidly. Is that the purpose of a virus? Just like you have a purpose to go, find out the medical and help people. I have a purpose. I'm called to preach and teach and communicate. Viruses want to multiply.
Yeah.
They want to survive. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, from a spiritual standpoint, it's a disease causing thing. We know Satan wants to cause disease. It cannot cause disease in low numbers. We have viruses all around us all the time, even in our body. The viruses cannot do anything in small numbers, especially cause disease. So they depend on multiplying. They get a certain volume of multiplication, and then they start to cause disease because they overwhelm our immune system.
Wow.
Until they get more viruses than our immune system can handle, we're okay, actually. That's why you see a lot of the young people, they say they asymptomatic, but they could pass it on.
Yes.
Because their immune systems are stronger because they're younger. They have young age on their side.
Sure.
So they can walk around with the virus, and the virus can't really take them down until it gets to a certain point. And what you can, and some of these young people need to understand, when they stop getting their rest, or they start staying up late at night, eating a lot of junk food, now their immune system can't becoming like the older people.
Sure.
And then they get sick, because you get
as well.
do get sick, and they end up in the hospitals too.
And they have shown cases. It was slower, but cases have come up where the young people now are getting sick and scary, dying.
Right.
Dying because it took longer. Does this make sense? To break them down. It was not the best immune system, but it began to break it down as this virus kept going. And I don't know, like you said, asymptomatic, is it?
Asymptomatic.
Asymptomatic.
Yeah,
So
they're showing their symptoms because their immune system keeping everything in check.
But it's there.
It's there.
Wow.
And that's the thing about it. And it's like, an old man and a young, strong man, it's going to take you longer to take that strong man down.
Sure.
But if you do enough things to weaken that strong guy, then you can take him down.
That's so good.
That's
Lord have mercy. So that helps us to understand the mentality or the thought of that our young people think it can't happen to me, because they don't understand, like you're saying, the breaking down and how viruses work. And so we're trying to address that. They have young people making commercials now, the rappers, different ones that the kids listen to tell them that this is serious. This is so good. I can't wait to do the playback on this, because this is going to bless a lot of people. So that was such a good discussion on why does it affect Black and brown people in a more devastating way, and exactly what it attacks. And it attacks, we talk about that a little bit, the organs, because they're saying, I had people early on, and they were older, 50 plus, most of them. Mm-hmm. Then I had a 40-year-old guy who was military, 52, military, strong, exercise. His wife said she thinks Walmart, that's the only place she said he went. And he was on a ventilator. Did she tell me 4 weeks, 5 weeks? And I asked her, were they taking them off and on? Because I had dealt with a person. They said they would take them off and test them and whatever. And she said no. she didn't think, and he passed away. So it's so sad. So it brings me to this second part of question 6. Why, what organs is it that they attack, this corona attacks, and I know things are evolving, different organs or any organ? Is it?
Yeah, they particularly favor the lungs. And even though they're finding a lot more interesting things out right now, like this, see wherever there are blood vessels, they're attacking blood vessels. But to me, it looks like they like the lungs the most because the lungs have a lot more blood vessels and they got a lot of air and a lot of things that they can thrive on and multiply, but they really go for the lungs. And especially, you know, the people that smoke and things like that, because the lung have protective material. But when you smoke, you kind of mess up all your protective defenses. And so that's why you shouldn't smoke. So they're going to take advantage of that. You know, like I said, the virus is opportunistic organisms. So they're going to say, here's an opportunity. Let's get that smoker. They got some good lung tissue. Let's go after it. And that's
so, Dr. Wade, I didn't have this question, but this is good because you write the respiratory problems that people were having. The main thing was the breathing. Like you said, the lungs. So my question was, you said why the lungs? Because it has a lot. That was so good. A lot of things it could work with, you know, with the moisture, the air, oh my goodness. So how do we strengthen our lungs, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, well, basically, the main thing is try to refrain from smoking or anything that would destroy it. Of course, that goes without saying, but you know, some people don't think that's important, but it's super important because you have natural defenses. You have little hair like cilia that just beats away all kind of stuff that try to come into the lungs. So you don't want to destroy those by breathing in smoke. And
so
then
smoking destroys lungs, but is there something else that destroys lungs?
Well,
How can you do protective? You say you got a natural protection. That's God.
Right,
When I look at the body, it's just so awesome. And it's just so evident that God made that body. That's amazing.
Right.
But man, couldn't have thought of all that. But what else destroys our lungs?
Well, the main thing is in general, the immune system protects everything, every organ in the body. So we need to do things to build that up. First, we need to make sure that we exercise, and you exercise regularly, you increase the blood flow and you increase your respiratory system. That strengthens the lungs. And, you know, the body works together, like the organs work together. So when you start to run and all that, you get your cardiovascular system, your heart's involved, your kidneys involved, your blood vessels, everything works together. And the immune system is there as like the army of the body, you know, and we need to just build it up. So you exercise, you get your rest, you nutrition, you build it up, you try to get all the different nutrition into your body, give all your cells all the ammunition they need to build up the things to keep those organisms out. And those are the main things that you can do.
I love it though, because what you said that stuck out is build your immune system.
That's it.
That'll build your lungs, that'll build your heart, that'll build. So God got a system. That's so awesome. A system. You know, we always talk about, I get amazed when I talk to you because the lay person is not looking like that until you're focusing on it. And then you just see the amazement of God and the amazing thing about people who do that, because how God is just so amazing. I can't think of another word. How you guys, your brain work and how scientists and you working together, how you guys understand this and can articulate it. And you're telling us, listen, do this as doctors, and we're hard-headed knuckleheads. We don't do it. And you're showing us how we can live our best life in our long life. So I appreciate that the immune system works together because they're built-in things to protect you once you do what you're supposed to do. So I you know, the Bible say my body is the temple of the Holy Ghost. And so we should not abuse the temple where God resides. And when you say God resides, to me, it means his his spirit is there in man. He breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living being. In that breath, to me, God gave us so much. So to see you guys, how you understand that is just simply mind-blowing for me. My next question, Dr. Williams, is I have two final questions. What do you think is the future of COVID-19?
Well,
And my last question is, anything else we can do to, besides the mask and all?
sure. Yeah, that's a great question. Now,
What is the future?
although they're still, collecting data and all that, because think about all of the diseases that's been in the past. There's a lot of things that have been learned over the time. So we're in the process of learning, but there's a lot of information that we know now. We do know that the virus is not going to go off the face of the earth anytime soon, but we know, I think in the long run, we're going to develop some kind of a way of being able to live with this virus around. We're not going to always have to be inside and all that. Something's got to come to where, we got to do the things we have to do. And I think right now, as long as this current Trump administration is in, it's a hindrance from us getting to what we need. We know that it could be controlled because other countries are doing it.
That's right.
America is hurting itself. We're the land of the free, the freedom of speech and all that. But those countries where they're forced to do what they're supposed to do, they're the ones with the low counts and virus is not taking over. So we know that it can be done.
Sure.
We just need the right cooperation, and we need to get to that point before it gets too late where they have no control, and right now it's a matter of getting control. And we don't really have that as a country right now. We just got to be very diligent. And, I like to lean back on the spiritual thing. Like our spiritual leaders are key, like yourself, teaching the word and building people up and keeping their confidence. But, like one of my favorite Bible verses is the 2 Timothy 1:7, where God says, don't fear, don't fear. We need to lean on that. He gives us the power, the love, and the discipline, that obedience, and that discipline. Wash your hands and do all the things that takes discipline.
Sure.
When you do discipline and do what God says, you start to have control.
That's right. Self-control, self-denial. I just taught on some of those things. As you said, like you said, God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, power, sound mind. Now, what does that mean? It depends on who's feeding that mind. What are you eating? If you're eating just from the world, your ego is political, not understanding that COVID is not going away. And I'm glad you explained how viruses live around us all the time. Because when they say it's not going away, a lot of people like dropping like, oh, God, there's no hope. But no, we live, as you said in our recap, we live with viruses all the time. This is a different type, different strain. So you have to combat that like you combat the others. But this takes a different, if you will, in the Army, a different type of weapons. Right. And some of them are simple. Wear a mask, stay 6 feet away. Don't be breathing on people and having conversation, and wear the mask to stop all that spitting and whatever, because we know how it enters. In the eyes, they said, in the nose and the mouth. Is that correct, Dr. Williams? It enters in the eyes, the nose, and the mouth.
Right. That's the gateway in.
Gateway, yes. And so, and I'm not afraid. And I have been staying home, just going to the church to do the thing and coming back. And I've been with some people, but all of us 6 feet away, we're doing that. Now, the thing is, my final thing is, what can we do? And you kind of said some things, but as believers, I want to say this: we must be a light, and so we must follow the rules. The Bible says, obey the laws of the land. The problem is, like you said, with leadership, the laws of the land are not clear. You tell some you say the mask saved, but you don't wear a mask. You say, I'm not making it mandatory.
Right.
You know, it's that mind, like I said, controlling our thoughts, ego, politics, all of that stuff is of the world. But if we would care about I just wrote a letter. They asked me, the governor's office, to put out, and one of the things we said was, love thy neighbor as thyself. So you don't have it, but you wear a mask to protect somebody else. So we must permeate this world with the Lord's word. And I believe more people, you know how they say, Jesus is the light. The light comes on. Wow, I should care about somebody, because I don't understand that insensitivity and just selfishness of not caring if somebody gets it from you, if you asymptomatic. I can't always say the word. Or I can't understand the ego to say I have the freedom. My husband preached a message, Bishop, Dr. Williams one. He says, you know, nobody wants to be chained to anything, but we all are chained to something, whether we like it or not.
Right.
So we need to, if the best thing is to be chained to the Lord so he can feed us and control us, care about us. So we personally, as I said, my final question was, is there anything else we can do? But I think you kind of, could you give us just some closing remarks? Because I think you kind of told us what we need to do. But anything else or anything you want to add as we close? This was so good, so good.
Yeah, I think that we did hit the high points, but in summary, we shouldn't take it for granted what God has given us, and we do have the ability to fight this enemy. He's going to be here, but that don't mean that the enemy has to be in control. You know, no, he's not going to go away. We already know that, but that's why Jesus came, so we can have a way to fight the enemy, and we can. But he gives us instructions, and we need to follow those instructions.
Yes.
And basically, the instructions are basically follow God's rules. You know, we need to follow what he says. We can't control the virus if we don't do the things we know to protect us against it.
Sure.
You know, we know that the mask helps to filter out things coming in and things going out. We know that, you know, protecting ourselves in terms of getting rid of the viruses off our hands so that we don't transmit it easy. These are simple things, but it does take discipline, and we have to do it on a consistent basis. You can't do it sometimes and say, I did it this, or somebody not looking, you do it, you don't do it. All it takes is one time.
That's right.
And we already know that this virus, the difference with this virus from other viruses like Ebola and all, this virus can jump from one place to another without any, don't need much opportunity. You just need close enough. And now they're discovering that it's just in the air, coughing somewhere. I don't like to see people in the room coughing, and you don't know what they coughing.
Right.
And then in the store, you're around people and they coughing and don't have a mask. That's making it worse.
Sure.
You have to be careful and be smart when you go out. You know, God says be vigilant.
Yes.
So I think that, we just need to rely on our religious leaders to give us the confidence and to fight this. Like when David fought the Goliath, the thing that he had the most was confidence.
Sure.
He had confidence in God. And so the more he swung that thing, you could see him puckering his lips and grinding his teeth, clenching his fist before he let that slingshot go. He had confidence.
Yes, sir.
That's what we got to have confidence that we can conquer this.
It's a blessing. So thank you so much. People ask questions like, why would God allow it, and over and things happen? But God, reveals that he does allow some things, but it's always working together for man's good. And one good that I see is drawing people closer to him. He says, and if they come closer to me, as you draw nigh to me, I draw nigh to you. And as you get closer, then God said, Deborah, actually, I'm trying to show people actually how much I love them. Because if I would not put a hedge of protection, not just over 100,000 would be dead, everybody would be dead. He came to take our life away, to kill, steal, and destroy. He said, but I sent Christ, and he came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. So I know that God is still trying, those who are obedient and doing obey, you know, because the disobedience was in the air. It was in human mankind. But we don't think about our disobedience when the hard tests come.
Right.
God said, I'm drawing them. I'm allowing it. Satan has come to kill us all, but I'm allowing it to draw them closer so they could really see that I came, that they might have life and have this great life. So thank you, Dr. Williams. You're always so informative, and I love your passion and your love for human mankind, but most of all for God. So keep it up, be encouraged, and know that you're my number one doctor. And I thank God for you. And he comes to kill and steal all of us and attack all of us. But know that the Lord is with you, and keep doing what you're doing. It's just a blessing. Because God said after we make our sacrifices, he says the reward is great. The reward is great. So I know you're busy, but this was a good interview.
Thank
and
you.
I can't wait to share it. So have a blessed day in the Lord. And we thank you so much.
All right.
Bye.
So wake up, my friend.
Wake up, my friend.
Wake up, my friend. Wake up, my friend. It's time to thrive. You can do it.
Wake up, my friend. Wake up, my friend. Wake up, my friend. It's time to thrive.